Church intro video. Church intro video.
Church intro video.
Church intro video.
Church intro video. Hey.
Church intro video. No. Uh-oh.
Oh my goodness.
I muted for the worst part of it. Couldn't get to my mute button fast enough for the first half of it.
Funny.
That was a big sneeze.
What's a big sneeze?
What a big sneeze.
Are you okay?
No.
Are you okay? You let out a big sneeze?
No. Be careful before the puppy starts thinking you're talking to her.
My puppy's not in here, but...
Oh, okay.
Oh, here we are.
Nope.
We're not here?
We are.
If we're not here, then where are we?
We are here. We are not born to be kings. We are not the
Are we?
princes of the universe.
I was about to say, are we at least princes of the universe?
No.
Then you were like, we are not princes of the universe.
Nope. Sorry. Hate to break it
What
to
are
you.
we if we're not princes of the universe?
Normal humans.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Hey, Grayson's here. Hey, so,
And Biggs is here.
happy birthday, Grayson.
Ooh. Happy birthday, Grayson.
Is Phoenix Pixel sticker doodah on?
I don't know if she'll be joining us. She's in here. I can tell you that much.
Well, it's her birthday too.
It is. It is. We went out for it. And I'll tell a funny
So
story.
it's hers and it's Grayson's.
I'll tell a funny story when we're... How was your week?
Okay.
I'll tell on her.
I forgot to turn on the red light just now, and the littlest Shay was like, "Daddy, is it okay if I play with Play-Doh?" He needs to go talk to his mama about playing with Play-Doh.
Their lights off. I'm assuming they're asleep.
Oh, okay.
I opened the door and Kaiju went. Oops.
I was like, "Get out of here!"
So, she might or might not be on.
Okay then.
I might have just woke him up.
Phoenix Brixel Stitch. That
Yes.
is so hard for someone like me to say. You know, like with my pronunciation, my
Yeah, I have nothing to say about it. I can't ever say
brain
it
to
right.
mouth connection issues.
My eyeballs to face connection issues don't let me say it. I'm like, hey,
You're like,
ooh,
I can't even read it.
hey, ooh. She had to explain it to me like 3 or 4 times before I even realized what it was, just because I can't see it right. There's too many.
So Biggs, who doesn't live with the person we're talking about, versus Pastor Nooms who does. Biggs says Phoenix was getting a migraine.
Yes,
I guess she went to lay down in the dark.
I knew she was getting a migraine, but that does not mean always that she doesn't join us, or at least listen, because, I mean, she gets migraines so often, the poor girl. It's almost a assumption that she has one, sadly, for her. No.
That stinks.
Yeah, her migraines are very, very bad. Oh, Zadie! Zadie's
Zadie's
here.
here.
We gotta quit talking bad about Zadie. She's here now. Which
Yeah,
just
I
so
hate
we're,
it when you're talking bad about somebody and they show up.
just so you know, Zadie, we weren't actually talking about you at all.
Speak for yourself.
Billion.
She says she's been here. Oh, crap. She heard everything we said about her.
We're Face Live now.
Face Live.
Just saying. I didn't have anything clever, and I forgot to say that I was about to do it, so you just got it done. Like, it's one of them things.
All right. Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 10 of the Berean Manifesto, Faith, Hope, and Love for the Modern Christian. I'm Pastor Bill, and as always, I'm joined by Pastor Nooms. Pastor Nooms, we did not wait until the 28th minute of the podcast this time to do the official opening.
Last week when we got done and I had to edit it, I'm sitting there like, do I start where I just say Face Live? Do I start it where I just say, Do I start it where I don't know where to start it? And so I'm glad that we, fixed
it's
that.
Like you did. Like, the transcription was like, the first thing on the transcription was Face Live.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know where else to. I listened to like the first 5 minutes after the word Face Live, because So for those of you out there in podcast land,
podcast land.
When we're live recording it, we have a 5-minute intro bumper, and so you can't see our faces because it's this countdown, and there's the music from Pastor Bill's previous life, and just lots of other stuff going on. What? Well, you're not in that band anymore.
Say it that way.
You're not in that band.
Doesn't exist anymore, but it's weird to say it that way.
No, that's exactly how you typically say it.
It's not wrong to say it that way. It's weird that people say that.
Why?
Previous life.
Well, it's because of the term living and how we equate that to also being in business and in what function you do in life, not just, oh my gosh, not just what
that on the other side. Pretty good yellow flower.
Let's just be honest. It's because English is a terrible language.
English is so bad.
So, now I'm redlining and I haven't changed anything. Okay, that's better. Okay, so for those of you, so we have that, and then it's the first thing I say when it's like, ooh, we're Face Live, and then Pastor Bill does his whole hello and welcome to, like he does every week. And about half the weeks I mock him while he does it in the corner, mouthing the words, because it's the same every week. But we just he didn't do it, and I didn't realize last time. Yes, Biggs.
Yep, my lights change colors.
Sometimes, depending on the settings and depending if he actually does something crazy before. Anyway, so Pastor Bill, how was your week?
My week was all right. It's the same answer it was last week. Worked on marketing for that recent book release. Dropped a copy of the anthology I was included in off at my local library to try to get it added to their collection. Bunch of marketing stuff online. That's about it. Nothing special going on over here at Casa Leche. So.
What's that?
What about yourself?
What's Casa Leche?
The House of Shea.
So,
Casa
yeah,
Leche.
I know. I know enough Spanish to know that. Poquito. Just a little. Anyway.
Un poquito.
So, my week was pretty good. We had, yes, please hit the mic with it. That's what we need. Is you hitting the mic with the flower as you... Yes, that's different. That's even better. Hit the stem on the front of the mic over and all and create huge amounts of feedback. It was so much better doing it. Yes, touch it with your bare finger and electricity. Please blow out the speakers of...
So how was your week, Pastor Nooms?
The worst part about this is, speaking of previous lives and other things, Pastor Bill's the one that cares if the audio quality is good. I don't. And yet... Anyway, okay. So, my week's pretty good. Work's real busy. I streamed a new game a couple of days. That was fun.
Warhammer.
It's an RPG created by the same guys, the same group, Owlcat Studios, that did the Pathfinder games I was playing before. That says plays a lot. It's set in the work. Wow, I guess I have to yawn right there. It's set in the Warhammer universe. Set in the Warhammer universe, so it's a lot different lore, and it's different play style enough just because, the difference in lore and difference in game mechanics makes the play style different. It's in alpha, so it is not one that, readily available all kinds of places. And then Friday night, season 28 of Diablo 3 came out, which is being rumored as the last season before Diablo 4. And they released a bunch of, it's a huge content patch also. So they started playing that this weekend, but didn't stream it just because I was playing D&D at the same time and other things. And then yesterday, I pushed myself out of my comfort zone. Well, I didn't push myself out of my comfort zone. A nice lady pushed myself out of my comfort zone.
A nice lady.
Yeah. But so at the church that we've been going to, they have a thing called Junior Bible Quiz, and it's basically game show style Bible quiz for small children. And, well, I won't say small children. Small humans. Children. And so Seraphina's been partaking in that over the last couple of weeks, and so this was her first match. And so went out there and ended up helping more than I anticipated. I thought I was going to be sitting in the audience and just, watching her do things, and that was not the case, which was good. And it was really funny because I'm not, for those of you who know me in real life as opposed to game world, I'm not one to be in the forefront of anything. That's the reason on the church's website there's not even a real picture of me. Unless Pastor Bill finally did update it to a real one. But
nope, it's still the one that's to be taken in the future.
Yeah, to be taken in 2050. So I'm not big on big. And so the pastor's wife, Miss Sherry, was like, okay, we're gonna need volunteers, and we're gonna push some people out of their comfort zone. The holdings, one of you guys are gonna need to help with one of you are gonna need to help coach the team of Sarah, who's new, and one of her friends who isn't new, and he's been doing this for a while. And I was actually playing on my phone, sitting at the table during this time, and she goes, I'm assuming I know which one it's going to be because one is actively not looking at me on purpose. Of course, I'm actively not looking at her on purpose. Like, you ain't calling my name for this. Like, I don't do things with people. Like, no, I'm here for morals. I
don't do the things.
I don't do the things.
The people things.
No. And so there was 4 matches. We go into the first match, and there's this clipboard, and they're keeping score, and it's all this stuff. And I'm looking over at Zadie, and I'm looking at the kids that are on a table in front of us, and I'm looking over at Zadie, I'm looking at the kids, and she wasn't doing it how I would do it. Wasn't doing it wrong. Wasn't anything wrong with what she was doing, just not the Noomsian way. And for those of you who do know me, both in-game and out of game, that my OCD will kick in and I'll start scratching, and then it's like, no, just give it to me. And so in between match 1 and 2, I took over, and so and so then I was, telling the kids, okay, you got this, all the. It's called coaching, but I guess it would be traditional coaching, but it's different. It's answering questions, which is something I know how to do. I'm good at running my mouth until a question is answered properly in 30 seconds. And so.
All right. So right quick, the wind outside has picked up to 30 miles an hour. So if I lose signal,
I just keep
you
going.
know what's going on.
Okay, perfect.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. If you lose signal, I'll press this button right here, and then just
Those
keep
become
going.
big face. Yeah. Yeah.
Just switch the faces and keep going. So that was my yesterday. And then towards the end of the night, we were talking in the pre-show that it's Phoenix's birthday today and Grayson's birthday today. So big happy birthday to both of them.
Happy birthday to y'all.
Okay, I'm glad. I'm like, are we really gonna sit here through the hand washing song?
Absolutely not.
And I did just call it the hand washing song as opposed to what it is. Anyway, so she opted to stay with my parents last night, and she texts me and tells me, and I say to her, and I'm like, well, that's just not fair. Like, how am I supposed to burst in your room at midnight and start singing and bothering you and waking you up if you're not at the house?
Right.
And her response was, well, you don't need to do that. That's not needed. Well, for anyone who's met me for any amount of time and listened to a single one of these, I am a troll. And so at that point, it is now needed. Like, it is just something fun I do that I often will forget. And then, like...
I mean, like, one day Nooms hopes to retire to under a bridge. That's how much of a troll he is.
If I could, my whole house would be in a mountain. Like, just straight up mountain troll, like, just in the side of the mountain. We're not going outside during the day, etc., etc. Anyway, so I went downstairs and I was like, Zadie, look, this is what happened. And she was like, are you asking if I think it's a good idea if we all get into the car and drive across town to break into your parents' house at midnight to then sing?
What?
And I went, yes, it's exactly what I'm asking. Do you think it's a good idea? She goes, of course, I'll get dressed. And for those of you who don't know Zadie doesn't stay up late. First off, like, Zadie goes to bed. Like, and Zadie gets up early in the morning, and she's not a morning person, so she prefers to try to get sleep. So then I go into the other room, and I'm like, Rain, do you want to go? And she's like, we're going to go across town and bother Heather? Heck yeah, we'll bother Phoenix. Like, that's like the funnest thing ever. Let's do it. So, and then, I go to the smallest, and I'm like, Seraphina, do you want to? And Seraphina's response is, I'm already in bed, and I'm in sleep mode. I'm not leaving the house. I'm like, okay. Says is here. You're fine. Like, I guess you're not coming. So we did. We got in the car. I was able to get a hold of my parents. Well, my mother. Because Biggs didn't answer the phone because he was already in bed. To let her know we were doing this. I was going to do it either way, but that's the safer option, is to let her know.
Us. Don't shoot us when we come in.
Yeah. So, don't call the cops. It's just us. And so we did. We got there and we opened the door right at midnight and snuck in, and the guest room's like right in the front of the house, and just burst through the door, and and Phoenix was actually on Discord with her Discord friends, and they were all trying to wrap up their night, but they wanted to wait till midnight to sing her happy birthday. And then
the pandemonium.
And then we drove back across town and went to bed to get up for church this morning.
Excellent. Yeah.
So yeah, I had a little bit of a fun weekend. It was definitely different, and everything's interesting. So that was my week. My week was actually different than normal, so
Cool.
it wasn't just my normal cycle of, yeah, I slept.
All right, it's your week for pulling the card for getting to know the pastors.
Yeah, I did
So
already.
you'll go ahead and...
It's right here in front of me.
Okay, what does it say?
Oh, okay. It says chat pack.
Chat pack.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, you want to know the question? If your life were literally flashing before your eyes, what 3 moments would you expect to stand out if your life flashed before your eyes? Like, what are the 3 big, oh yeah, moments? Which I think there's better ways of asking that question, but, cool, that's fine.
I don't know how to answer that.
What are 3 big moments in your life? The 3 moments that stand out.
I don't know how to answer that.
Birth of children, marriage.
Yeah, that happened 4 times.
Well, which 3
Marriage
were important to you?
1 time.
You're like, I ain't going there. I ain't answering that one where it's recorded and posted online forever.
This is not an easy question. Can I get another card, please?
Yeah, we can. Certain event at Acquire the Fire. I mean, I can think of a couple for you. Anyway, okay. I can't think of my own, though. I could think of 3 for you, but I couldn't think of 3 for me, and that's messed up.
You thought of like 10 for me.
I know. Alright, suppose that instead of having a name, you had a number.
Okay.
And people will always refer to you as that number. What number would you like to take the place of your name? Your number can have as many or few digits as you would like.
2332.
And why is that?
Those are my favorite numbers, just inverted.
But which is your favorite number?
32.
Oh, and then, okay. I was like, those are my favorite numbers inverted. So, like, the 23 is the inverted of the 32, and the 32 is inverted of the 23, so neither one of them are actually your... Like, I'm like, you're talking about, like, that question was worded wrong, and that's how you answer a different one? Like really? Like, this is how we're playing tonight? Okay.
Yeah, like, I straight up already have a number that I'm just like, yeah, that would be called 2332. That's my number.
So, I don't think I have one.
Oh,
now,
you have a number?
I will say...
You and I are so different. Like, I have a number, I have a time travel password, I say the wrong PIN number in my head when I'm paying for stuff in case there's someone reading my mind. You and I are so different.
I agree. I had the same conversation with Sez, who sits in front of me all day. Because the things that bring us joy are completely different, even playing the same games, and it's so funny. So for a number, like, I know what Zadie's would be, because it's the number she always says, but I'm not gonna say it. There's a number out of a song that I always say when someone asks a question, even when that question has nothing to do with a number. So maybe that would be it. I don't know. I don't really have a number.
The problem is, for most people, the first number that pops into their head is the number they've chosen for their PIN code.
I don't like that number.
Or like their debit card or whatever.
I don't like that number.
But yeah, I chose a different number because I didn't want my favorite number to be my PIN number.
Yeah, I don't... I used the first PIN that was assigned to me back when you didn't choose them. When they were, given to you and you didn't get to choose them. I don't know if you guys remember back that far.
I don't remember that. I don't know what my first PIN number was.
Like, way back in the day with, like, the kid's debit card from the credit union. They were like, here's your PIN number, and this is the number that you have to use, and it was randomly generated.
What I do remember? I remember that they generated me one, but then I was like, no thanks, and I immediately changed it.
And you had that option, but I didn't care enough to change it, and that's the
Your
same
wife
one I've
doesn't know
used.
what number you're telling her would be
I know.
her number.
I know. That's
She's
what's
like,
fun.
is it 42, 27, 19?
19's her favorite number because it's when we met. That's not true, but that's okay. 27's her favorite number because that's what age she actually feels and wants to be referred to as. Which is really funny because people at work, someone found out our actual age because she said something about having a 13-year-old, and the person was like, I thought you were like 27, 28. And she was like, ooh, thank you.
She's like, I am.
And then 42 is one of her favorite numbers because, well, 42 is the answer to, everything. So.
But not the question.
Right. Not the question, but 42 is the answer.
Right.
So. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both questions were bogus for me tonight. Do you want me to pull another one?
Or I enjoyed the number one, but sure, we can pull another one so that you get to answer something too.
Or in my answering of the not answering, did I reveal enough about myself?
No.
If snow could fall in any color, what color would you choose? Black. It's easy.
Black snow?
Black snow. So it would look like soot constantly. And it absorbs all color, so it would not be as reflective, but it would have all the same properties. Now, driving would be impossible because everyone's dead.
Yeah.
But
like I'm thinking, like, as hard as it is to see through snow right now.
Yeah.
If it was black.
Oh yeah, everyone's dead. You would have to just stay home because no, you would never be able to see the roads. You would never be able to see the. If snow was black, though, we probably wouldn't have black roads, to be honest. We probably would have developed different color roads like they have in other places, as opposed to just a cheap asphalt. And it's scarily creepy, the fact that Zadie spent the time to type that as I was saying it. And I know that there's a delay, and I heard her laugh, and I wasn't sure why, and now I know, is because she hit enter as I said it, and it didn't, it got to her after she hit, anyway, delays are fun.
Yeah, delays are fun.
So, yeah, black.
Okay.
Why did we hit the table?
I don't know.
Okay.
For fun. All right, so we're in season 4, and we're now on episode 10. And we've been going through the book of Genesis, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first chapter of Genesis. And we went to, the beginning of the book of John.
Mm-hmm.
And today we are on the 6th day. It is the last bit of verses in chapter 1. So we'll finish up those last verses. And then next week we'll talk about, we'll recap all of chapter 1. And then we can move on to chapter 2 the next week. So.
And I would like to also call out at the beginning of this episode, anyone who is seeing the title of the episode, and you're like, why is it a bad idea? Go read a book. That's all I got.
Go read a book. Human beings were such a bad idea that at one point even God was like, yeah, I'm going to go with plan B now.
But I just love the fact that you worded it like the author Douglas? Why have I just lost his name?
Like the Galaxy book.
It's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It is the first of the series.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
So it is in Hitchhikers, and the author is Douglas. I can see the cover of the book. I can see the cover of the movie. I can see the cover of the audio book. I can't find the name. Anyway, go read the opening to that, and you'll understand the podcast name. So
we're looking at verses 26 through 31 of Genesis chapter 1 today, which read, God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. Oh,
No,
I'm
it
sorry.
doesn't.
I just jumped down to 28
That's
instead
not
of
what it
reading
says.
26. 26 says, then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. They will rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, the whole earth, and the creatures that crawl on the earth. So God created man in his own image. He created him in the image of God. He created them male and female. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. Rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every creature that crawls on the earth. God also said, look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant on the surface of the entire earth, and every tree whose fruit contains seed. This will be food for you, for all the wildlife of the earth, for every bird of the sky, and for every creature that crawls on the earth, everything having the breath of life in it. I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good indeed. Evening came, and then morning, the sixth day. Okay. So there, when we're in verse 26, and let's just reiterate all throughout all of these verses, we're still using that plural word, Elohim, which is gods, right? Or divinities, or, could have been talking about just God and the Trinity, could have been talking about God and the angels. This is technically a Babylonian text, so it could have been talking about, their pantheon of gods in its original writing, and then we take it and we apply our understanding to the scripture, right? We apply the idea of the Trinity. Sorry, my dentures are giving me a little bit of problems at the moment, but I think I got it sorted. We apply our idea of the Trinity retroactively to these scriptures, which is a concept, which is an idea that the original authors of chapter 1 of Genesis had no concept of. They didn't look and think of and see God as who we see God as. They didn't think of a Trinity in God. This is not a Jewish text. This is not a Christian text. We're literally, this is Babylonian creation story, is chapter 1 of Genesis. That's where this came from. So we apply our own ideas backwards. That's not what the writers would have intended when they wrote this. So we get that idea there. And in verse 26, they commanded, they try to translate to said again, but over and over we've gone, well, in context, this is actually more commanded. Commanded, let us make man in our image. Now, make is pretty straightforward there. Man, we're starting to use some words here that we haven't used before. Man is ruddy, right? Or more specifically, it comes from the idea of showing blood in the face or being able to flush. If when you get embarrassed and your cheeks turn red, or for the Irish when they drink whiskey and their cheeks turn red, this is what this word means. This is what the word Adam is. It's talking about the state of being able to see the blood in the face, right? And so right away we get this idea that whoever wrote this, the Babylonians, or possibly James Strong, who created the Strong's Concordance, they had this idea that this first man, this first woman, they were of more of a paler complexion. They were not dark-skinned. That's not necessarily true. But from the viewpoint of the Babylonians, from the viewpoint of the translators, this story means pale-skinned. They had pale skin. In Genesis 1, in the original language, they're talking about a pale-skinned people. Because that idea, this ruddy cheeks, the showing the blood through the face, This is all descriptions of a paler skinned person. That's what it is. I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying that's what the text is saying. It's very possible, actually even genetically more plausible, that Adam and Eve were dark-skinned, because you can get from dark-skinned and branch out genetically into lighter-skinned peoples. But it genetically doesn't make sense if Adam and Eve were white to then genetically branch off into darker-skinned people. That genetically is a stumbling block there as far as a natural flow of how genealogy can work. Okay, let us make man in our, and then the next word here is image. Except it's another one of those words, like in the beginning of Genesis, where we were like, they're using these really deep words, these words that don't. The translation's not wrong, but it's not right either. It's leaving something on the table. It's leaving something out. It's leaving something to be desired in the wording because we're using these English words, right? So image there is H6754, right? It's Selim. Let me pull my eSword back up because I closed it. And I have my little notes here just to let me know, this is a word that blah, blah, blah. Sort of bigger. Okay. From an unused root meaning to shade, a phantom, that is figuratively illusion, resemblance, hence a representative figure, especially an idol, image, a vain show. All right. So when God says, let us make man in our image, it's not the word image. It's let's make man a lesser version of ourselves. Like you would look at your shadow on the ground and you would go, well, that's me, but it's not really me. It's a pale copy. That's what he's talking about making here. Let's make them like us, but a diminutive version. Let's make like a shadow version of ourselves. Let's make a photocopy version of ourselves. Not quite as good as the original. And let's let them resemble us, right? Because then the next word, according to our likeness, demuth, H1823, actually is the word resemblance. So technically, according to James Strong's, you could actually translate this to say, let us make man in our resemblance, according to our resemblance. That doesn't make sense. You got to look at the overall meanings of the words to figure out what are they saying there. An image isn't wrong, and it is easy, and it is poetic, and it is, all the things that the original translators of the KJV, which then, down the years passed on to the new translators, the idea that they're trying to build here in this poetic story in their translation, but it misses that deeper. God literally said, they're gonna be like us, but they're not gonna be like us. They're gonna have the proclivity to be us, but not. They're gonna be like our shadow, a poor quality, a poor copy. And if you're hearing what I'm saying and you're looking forward, then you're in your mind you're going, okay, in Genesis, is it 2 or 3? They eat the apple, and God says, "Oh no! Now they know good and evil. If they also then eat the fruit of the tree of life, now then they will be like us." So God made them diminutive, but then there were steps they could have taken to be like God, to bridge that gap, right? Okay, let's back up. They will rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, the whole earth, and the creatures that crawl on the earth. There's no deeper anything there. That is all just exactly what it sounds like in the original language. And then we get to Genesis 1:27. God created man in his own image. He created him in the image of God. He created them male and female. Once again, the translators are throwing a gender onto God that isn't representative in the actual text. The word for God is the plural, gods. And then created man is actually bara eighth. So we have that eighth again where it's God personally creating something. It's not God just, like he did with certain things. Okay, exist now. And I called you into existence, so you exist now, like with the light. This is God actually personally creating. And we get more into that in chapter 2, where it actually talks about how God personally created, mankind. And then it uses that word again, that word ruddy, that word about having flushed cheeks. That's man. And it says, in his own image, once again, it uses that diminutive word, that Salem, that shade, phantom, illusion, shadow, And then it says he made them male and female. And once again, we get a view into the way the people who wrote the story see the world. Okay? Because the word for male is remembered. Right? We're in verse 27. And the word for male there, he created them male and female. Male is zakar, which is properly remembered. That is a male of man or animals as being the most noteworthy sex. This is a very telling word as far as how the authors of this narrative of creation felt about gender. And then it says, and female from the sexual form. Nekaba. So male is remembered, and female is, yeah, you got a female body. Okay. How you doing, Pastor Noobs? You got anything to add yet?
Mm-mm.
No?
Mm-mm. No,
Okay.
I mean it's all like you're saying. It's pretty. I mean, it's text.
Okay.
I mean,
we get to verse 28, and once again, plural, gods, and it says blessed them. Now this blessed them is barak. Barak is to kneel. It's basically you're separating a normal statement from a very serious or ceremonial one. You use this word when you're blessing someone. You use this word when you're cursing someone. You use this word when there's a point where Abraham has Isaac put his hand on his inner thigh because they're going to share this really serious moment. They get into this kneeling position, and he puts his hand on his inner thigh. It creates this closeness, right? It's a serious, close moment. And so God takes a stance of this. All right, I'm not just doing the things I've been doing before. I'm actually making a separation in what's going on at this moment from what I've done before. Or at least that's how the authors of this entry into Genesis saw, how this would have happened. And then again, it says commanded. So he's making it serious. It's intimate. He commands them to bear fruit, to increase. And then we have male, mala is the two different ways you can say that first word. And then eighth. He wants them to not just fill the earth, but to personally fill the earth. And we all know how human beings personally fill a space. We replicate. That's how we do things. And then we get 28, 35, 33. So we get to this point where God tells them to subdue the earth. And in the original, also to have dominion in the CSB, it says rule the fish. So in the original, they use two different words here. They use kabosh and they use rada. And these are similar words, but the first one, kabosh, is not just subdue, it's to conquer, it's to tread down and conquer. So it's to go out and you have to, when you're walking out into a field with large grass or an overgrowth, and you have to trample it down, and you have to conquer it. You have to earn every step, right? And then when it says to rule the fish of the sea and the fowl of the air, and every creature that crawls on the earth, this is actually to tread down and have dominion. So it's two different words that both start with the idea of treading down, of going out and, reworking the land, reworking the world to be a space for yourself. But the first one is to conquer. We have to conquer the earth. And the second one is to have dominion over. And I talk about this a lot, where God commanded us to have dominion over the earth. This is an idea where God has now given authority and responsibility of the earth over to mankind. Either the earth is going to succeed and humanity is going to succeed, or the earth is going to fail and humanity is going to fail, and that's all on humanity's shoulders, right? God is going, okay, it's yours. You need to take care of it. You need to make sure that you don't pollute it and trash it, and whether it's going to be a good place to live or a bad place to live, that's on you. It's your property. You take care of it. And then
sometimes we do a good job, and sometimes we've done a very bad job of that.
Right. Sometimes we've done a good job, sometimes we've done a bad job. And nothing too deep in the rest of that verse. And then we get to verse 29, right? And we get to say this point where it says, God also said. And this is the first time in all of Genesis 1 where they've translated the word said, and in context, it actually means said instead of commanded.
Mm-hmm. This one is actually to say.
This one is actually said, which is crazy that we finally get here. We're 3 verses from the end of Genesis 1, and we finally get to a point where God's actually saying something instead of commanding something. And he starts it with lo. It's the word hene, right? When you say lo, when you say hene, this is an excited phrase. This is me going to Pastor Nooms and going, bro, look at the cool new thing that I just found at the mall that I bought. That is amazing. That's what this idea is. And why are you making that face at me, Pastor Nooms?
I hate the word bro. So don't,
I use bro sometimes.
I know, and every time you do, I immediately am dejected from whatever you're talking about. And so it's like, when you're like, look, bro, no. Sorry.
My brethren, payeth attention to the thing that I have procured from the mall.
I mean, the word stands on its own. Look, behold. Those words stand on their own.
Behold, it's this excited, you're excited to share.
Look,
idea.
Exclamation point.
Yes, it should be an exclamation point. In the CSB, it's a comma.
In the KJV, it's also a comma.
It's behold, comma. They took all the excitement out of the word. It's supposed to be an excited word. And then, look, it's Nathan space 8th, right? So we've talked about eighth being personally doing something. And when they jam the two words together, like they've done so often in Genesis 1, it's you're personally doing something, right? You're personally doing something, you're personally doing something, you're personally doing something. Here, it's been separated into two separate words. What does that mean? This is God saying, hey, look at this. Look. I have this cool stuff, and I've given it to you. It's mine. It's of me, and I'm giving it to you. It's not God personally gave or God personally made or God. This is God took something that belonged to God and gave it to mankind. What did he give? He gave every seed-bearing plant on the surface of the entire earth and every true tree whose fruit contains seed to be food. At this point, mankind is looking. By this point of the overall arc of what we're talking about in Genesis 1, it's Adam and Eve both, and they're looking up at God and they're going, "What's food?" And God's like, "Oh, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love food. It's amazing. It's awesome. You're absolutely gonna love it. And you're gonna find that some of that food, when you eat it, it's gonna make you feel real good, and your head's gonna get all, and you're gonna be like, oh man, God, you're awesome." You know what food I'm talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about shrooms and marijuana.
That's
all right. Well, you don't think God made shrooms?
No,
obviously
we've had this conversation. It's all. Now, I will say, I found something interesting when we were reading this earlier.
Okay.
And this has nothing to do with the context of what we're doing, but it was just an interesting. Why are you dancing?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. He gives qualifiers for what is food for you, right? And food for the animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, we always equate, stepping forward slightly, even though we're trying not to the full garden scene, right? And everyone's always like, oh, the sinful fruit was an apple, or it was this, or it was that, which is crazy people speak, because if the tree was removed, it wouldn't be anything that's on this planet. But that's beside the point. But, right? What if it was some kind of weird fruit that didn't actually have seed? And didn't actually have, doesn't actually fit the rules that are given here and that are given in a minute, when we get to that point again. What if it didn't actually fit that, and it truly was just some kind of special thing that doesn't make sense because of what it was? I was thinking about it when we were reading it earlier, of like...
Well, yeah, even when we go forward and when Eve is holding it, she looks at it and she has this moment of revelation where she goes, "Oh, this is good for food. I can eat this too." But yeah, because it totally didn't fit the definitions of what God had said is considered food.
Right, and I found that to be interesting when I started, I looked at that and I looked ahead while you were reading other things, and it was just like, wait a second.
Yeah.
It appeared good for food, and then these other two trees, and you're like, wait a second.
Right. All right, so we're in verse 30, and we've got for all the wildlife of the earth. Most of this is just normal stuff. For every bird of the sky, and for every creature that crawls on the earth. And then it gets interesting.
And I have to say, I hate the word creepeth that's used throughout this entire thing. Because creepeth makes it sound like it's creepy crawlies. But it is. It is, but it's to glide.
It's must to glide swiftly or
to crawl with or move with short steps.
Yeah.
Or to swarm. So I mean,
it's worms.
Yeah. It's
it's
lots of things other than just.
It's the fauna.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, creepeth was like, oh, that's just the bugs, and it's like, well, it's not just the bugs. It's other types of small things that don't fit into the fowl,
Yeah.
woo, fowl mammal
Okay.
aspects.
So it says, everything having the breath of life in it, I have given every green plant for food, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we look into that, everything having the breath of life in it, this is nefesh ka'i. This is life with a soul.
Mm-hmm.
Remember we were talking about before? There's certain life that the first chapter of Genesis makes this dividing line. Certain life has a soul, and certain life doesn't. And then they make this point here. Everything that has a soul is an herbivore at this point. It doesn't say there aren't carnivores. It says everything with a soul is an herbivore. I thought that was an interesting, not stated delineation there.
It is definitely a not stated delineation, as well as at this point there is no speaking of anything that is a carnivore to begin with.
Right. They haven't mentioned anything that's a carnivore.
So the question, it's kind of one of those.
The point that everything that has a soul, eats green plants.
Or they've just stated that in the beginning we weren't supposed to be eating meat. It's one or the other. You could take either one of those meanings. It might not be that because most animals, almost all animals, 99% of animals can survive either as herbivores or omnivores. There are very few that have to be carnivores.
Mm-hmm.
And by very few, I can't think of any example that have to be due to the digestive system. Teeth structure is different because those can change over selective breeding.
Yeah. Okay, verse 31. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good indeed. But once again, this is the plural, gods. And here we have, you remember when he created the light and he looked within himself? And he saw, oh, the light's good. And then every other time he's just said, yeah, it's a good thing. We get to verse 31, and they do it again. God saw within themselves everything that had been made. And then they say, lo. They use lo again. They make an excited statement. And they use the word vehemently good. So it wasn't just, and it was very good indeed. It was. And that stuff was really, really good. I was trying not to use any slang in that because you hate it when I use slang.
I do. But it's okay. You did good.
Okay. And now we're going to wrap up with...
Ugh, I hate this.
The topic according to an AI. Where I take all of the commentaries on these verses and feed them into ChatGPT and have GPT make a summary based off of all of the concordances that I use when I do my studies. We've got 3 paragraphs this time. Here we go. The passage from the book of Genesis is about God's creation of the world and the significance of the event. It highlights the creation of man, who was made in God's own image, and given authority over the animal world and the earth. The authors note that man was created with a spiritual, moral, and pure nature, and that he was responsible for ruling over creation and using it wisely. The term temple man was first used by Jesus to describe the human body as a building consecrated to God, emphasizing its importance as a vessel for worship and service. The creation of man reflects the divine image in humanity and demonstrates the foresight of the Creator. This passage also touches upon God's provision for food for humans and animals, mentioning that before the fall, humans were meant to eat only plants, but after the flood, they were given permission to eat both plants and animals. The author emphasizes the importance of depending on God for the necessities of life and being obedient to his will. The beauty and joy in nature serve as evidence of God's being, power, wisdom, and goodness. The creation story in Genesis is described as a reflection on God's handiwork, with everything being very good, and each creature perfect in its own way. The authors highlight the importance of the sixth day, which represents the dawn of the intellectual and spiritual world. God's existence can be seen through his creations, and they serve as a testament to his goodness, power, wisdom, and being. The authors invite readers to look towards the light of heaven on earth, where God and man can find unbroken joy and rest in each other. Creation story refutes the idea that evil was present in God's creation and encourages us to meditate on the beauty and perfection of God's works. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Berean Manifesto, then feel free to share it, follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and if you think this could help someone in particular, the things that we've talked about, or spark conversations of your own, please send this episode to them. It definitely helps people get the word of our podcast, and spread the word out so more people can find the Berean Manifesto. We are a podcast that comes out every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we record live on Sunday evenings at 6:30 p.m. And recently we found a new way to do our transcriptions. Yay! So those are actually probably most likely going to be good in the future instead of what they've been in the past, where we were relying on Google's transcription services that were awful, hard to read. The new one gives summaries and timestamps on where you can find certain pieces of the conversation, and it's brilliant. And the editing time that has to be put into it is way less than what we were putting into what Google was using, what Google was giving us. So, and it's free instead of having to pay for Google services. Mm-hmm. So that's great. All right. If you want to join us live, you can go to our website, ekk.house, and find out which Twitch, which YouTube, and which Facebook to go to not only see the live video, but you can type into the chat bar and be a part of the conversation. I have our Discord pulled up where I can see your statement that you type in. Nooms has Twitch and Discord open so he can see them as well, and you can join the conversation in that way. You can bring up questions or concerns or comments or issues that you have with the way we see something. And in that way, we can have, a more robust conversation. So, that's everything about the podcast, right, Pastor Nooms? Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else you wanted to add tonight, Pastor Nooms?
No, because we're already wrapping up.
We're wrapping up. Okay.
I didn't have anything,
sure?
though. I didn't have anything.
Okay, good.
I'm just messing with you.
You're like, no, because you started the wrap up before you asked me, you jerk. All right. We love you guys. Have a great week.
Be safe out there.
And until next time. All right, and now we're going to do a live buffer. 30-second buffer. 30-second buffer. 30-second buffer.
Why is your head bobbing up and down? You're messing your hair up.
No, that's not how time works. 30-second buffer. 30-second buffer. 30-second buffer.
You better go fix it before your wife doesn't love you as much.
What?
I love speaking when you're speaking, and sometimes you don't always hear it, and that's fun. All right, love you guys.
What'd you say about my wife?
that she doesn't love you anymore because your hair's